Well, these days it said we don't coast. Years ago, Omaha's slogan was rare, well done, a nod to our love of steak.
But beef doesn't define the city's food scene. Our next guest says it's bigger than that, and she wrote a book about it, released just a few months ago.
I'm excited to read this book. Author Rachel Grace is here. Good morning, Rachel. Good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Good morning.
There's
nice
a lot.
to
I
meet you.
was just thumbing through this book. There's a lot of information in there. Why did you want to write a book on Omaha's food?
I think the biggest thing for me was moving here 5 years ago, originally from the East Coast, was the enthusiasm. It was just so striking. People were like telling me, here's all these places you need to go, and oh, what did you think about them, and all this. And so I started a food blog, actually, kind of based around my experiences eating out at certain places so that I would remember them. And that sort of led into a publisher, History Press, contacting me and saying, hey, would you like to write a book? Yes, yes, I would.
Okay,
Yes,
so
I would.
so it's not just like food is good, try this place, but there's some history in here too. So what did you learn as you were researching
I learned
Omaha food?
so much. My favorite thing was talking to a lot of old timers, kind of getting that first-hand account.
Yes, Mike. Well, his family has been here forever.
Yeah.
And like the Italian community here, and they will sit and talk to you forever.
They sure will.
About their memories and what they like and why. So what did you hear? What kinds of stories?
Well, our Little Italy area used to just be a hotbed, just like the place to go on a Friday night, traffic jams. I talked a lot with Lou Marcuzzo from Louis M's about that, yeah. So he was really great throughout the whole thing.
But Omaha, it's always been a food town. Was there anything that you discovered in writing this book that surprised you about the type of selections in Omaha? Because, as your book says, it's bigger than beef. It's not just steaks and hamburgers in Omaha.
Right. Well, let's see, what surprised me? I would say one of the things that I did was I put out a survey about pizza. And
Okay, chapter 3.
The pizza survey.
Chapter 3. And people are so it's like the most controversial thing.
Why? What are they fired up about?
Well, for one, there's so many
crust?
different styles of pizza.
Yeah, and no one can agree on what the best one is.
Yeah.
Well, it says here that, I mean, I'm looking at your chart of Omaha style preference on page 54, and we like New York style more than thin and crispy, more than thick, more than Chicago deep dish.
Right. And then reading through the comments in the survey, people were just angry.
The sauce
about
matters,
something.
the
It
cheese
does.
matters.
And pepperoni is Omaha's top topping.
That's what the findings were.
That's what it
indeed.
shows. But it's not just, it's desserts too, like Ted and Wally's.
Yes.
You know, because Joe and Jeannie, they make their ice cream on site there.
Yeah, they went a lot into detail about sort of their recipe and what makes them stand out, and
I want to sort of shift. We were talking about M's Pub and this fire off the top of the show, and it's weighing so heavily on people all over because of what that restaurant has meant to so many people for a long time, and to the old market. How do you put that fire into context for the culinary scene in the city?
one thing that I've noticed just over the last couple days is this outpouring of support with a lot of different restaurants offering to kind of take in the employees of M's Pub, both front and back of house, which is amazing. Something that I know exists to a certain extent in other cities, but especially in Omaha, this idea of community is something that I discovered. Sounds a little cheesy, but it's true. I mean, people are really kind of there for one another. They're not so much competitive. It's everybody wants to see each other do well. And I think when something like this happens, you really see that highlighted.
And you have a whole section in your book kind of relating back to some of the old markets restaurants, including M's Pub on page 124 here.
Yep, they're in there.
Yeah, and the Mercers.
What is the best meal in the city? If you, after doing this research, you've eaten a lot of food.
Well, going through this process, I knew that people were going to ask me that. And I say favorite meal or best meal because you can't just pick one restaurant. You know, everybody's kind of doing different things all the time. So where I sort of landed was I love the Dundee neighborhood. And it just so happens that 3 of my favorite restaurants are packed in there right near each other.
Listen, I've got to break free from West Omaha to get to Midtown and downtown occasionally because the culture, right? I said that right, unlike the film stream.
So what are you picking at each restaurant?
Okay, so I would start out
to our
at
favorites.
the French Bulldog. I think is you know, kind of a
I recently went there. Really unique.
It's yeah. There's not any other place like it in the city, I don't think.
You're starting there.
Starting there and having a meat and cheese plate, or at least a meat, charcuterie plate.
Yeah.
And they've got these wonderful fresh fruit cocktails that you can get as well. So it's a great way to start your meal. Then you travel on over to Dario's Brasserie, where you get a mussel platter and some frites and a Belgian beer.
Okay.
Okay, and then you are like, okay, I've had a few drinks. I'm gonna walk on over across the street to Avoli, where that's Dario's other restaurant,
Yep.
where you have a pasta.
Wow, you're eating well.
Yes, yes. But you get a little walking in there, and you're fine. So,
And then venture over to Mark's, and then
It's a great district there.
yeah,
Well,
you can just kind of
Just
zigzag.
one example.
but there's so many districts in Omaha. Benson and downtown, the old market, and biggerthanbeef.com. You want to get your hands on this book.
Get it this month. You'll get free shipping. And then Rachel is signing all the books that are coming home when you order them online. Thank you for coming in and sharing this with us. It's a delightful read.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and some really unique finds in here, some things I didn't know existed. So
Yeah,
good
happy to
read.
try.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Rachel.
thanks a lot.